How's it going, everybody? Brittany Slays here from Unleash the Archers, and it's that time of year again. Abyss is now available from Napalm Records. Check it out on Spotify or streaming platforms, wherever it may be, or pick up a CD from our indie merch store or from Napalm Records, napalmrecords.com. I'm here today to do the track by track for you guys. It's a concept record, the sequel to Apex, which was our 2017 album that we released on Napalm Records, and there's a lot going on, so I thought that I would walk you through each track one by one, let you know what's going on in the story, and give you a little insight into the whole story of Apex and Abyss. Here we go.
Wandering a waking dream while reaching for the light, as the day falls over into night.
So track one is Waking Dream. This is really more of an interlude. It's meant to connect the two records in such a way so that you can kind of listen from one and then the other. We didn't want it to be super jarring to just throw you into Abyss. And we also wanted to kind of introduce you to the headspace that the Immortal is in when the Abyss record starts. So it's kind of it's literally called Waking Dream because it's a dream state basically that he's in. When the Immortal is in his mountain and when he's sleeping, he's usually dreaming, and that's the only time that he's ever free. And so he really cherishes his dreams and looks forward to them most of the time especially after, the events of Apex, when it was particularly difficult for him emotionally. He made friends with the last son just for that to be taken away from him and for him to know that it's all kind of been futile. So he's in this dream state, but it's not really very comfortable for him. He's very unhappy, and he can see a light, but he can't reach it. And he feels a little bit like he's drowning in a blackness. And, we're not too sure what that really is. But he's just kind of in this middle place. Not yet awake, and not really asleep and dreaming like he normally does. And so the song kind of ramps up to the point where you can feel like you're waking up with the Immortal, basically, is how we meant for that to feel. And it's just the same thing repeating over and over again, that feeling of being enshrouded in darkness, reaching for the light, not being able to wake up, that weird in-between feeling that you get sometimes when you can feel like you're dreaming, you're dreaming, but you just can't quite bring yourself out of it. Track 2 is Abyss, the title track. So this is really the intro, okay, I'm awake now, what's going on, where am I? This is the beginning of the story. So the Immortal wakes up and turns out he's by himself on a gigantic starship out in space. No idea where he is, no idea where his mountain is, but he can feel that it's gone and that it's very far away, and no idea where the matriarch is. And so he's not too sure if he has a new master or if she's still his master and he's been ripped away from her somehow or stolen. But really the important part of the song is him looking out the window, basically, and seeing this infinite abyss of stars and night sky. And he's kind of wondering, where am I? Am I still dreaming? This doesn't feel like a dream. I'm definitely awake. I'm on a ship out in space, and he's kind of scared at first. He's very much afraid. He's not too sure where to go. He's not too sure what this means for him, what it means for his path in life, as he calls it. Normally he is awakened and he's on the planet and someone has need of him and has some use for him, and he eventually kind of figures it out and finds them and does what he's told. But here he's awakened in a completely unknown universe, and he doesn't know what his purpose is anymore. So he looks out the window and he sees this scary sort of darkness, And then he realizes that it's not so scary and that it's actually a new opportunity. And he begins to feel more hopeful and less afraid. And he begins to really be able to appreciate the beauty around him of this space and abyss that he is surrounded by. And by the end of the song, he's ready to go. He's kind of like, okay, so this isn't going to be a usual mission. This is going to be something a little bit different. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And things have always kind of worked out for me, and I've always been able to figure it out in the past. So I'm okay with this, and I'm ready to take on whatever my new master or whatever this new path is going to throw at me.
Give me the strength of the wind to soar. Show me the power of the yo-yo.
Track 3 is Through Stars. So this song is the immortal wandering through this massive spaceship and not being able to find anyone or any living thing really whatsoever. And he's kind of wondering, okay, am I out here by myself? What happened? How did I get here? If someone didn't awaken me, why am I here? And really he starts to feel very alone, and he starts doing what he always does whenever he's alone. He reflects on his past and feels ashamed or humiliated or, bad for the things that he's done in the past. And he remembers all the people that he's killed because he was forced to. And he remembers all the evil that he's done. And it's not really a great place mentally for him. So he's desperate to find his new master so that he can get going on this new mission. And yet he's also confronting all of these demons that have always been hiding away inside of himself. And by the end of this song, he begins to realize that he maybe was just letting this all happen to him all this time. Sure, he's cursed, and it's always been the same thing over and over again. He wakes up, he's forced to serve someone. Most of the time that someone is using him for something evil and horrible, and he just has to do what he's told. But this is this crazy moment of self-reflection where he's in a place that he does not know, and because it's so new to him, he has thoughts maybe that he never had before when he was safe on his planet, or when he had his apex to go back to always, and when he was surrounded by nature and the wind in the trees and the birds around him and the rushing of water, familiar things. Whereas this, it's very quiet, cold, stark, very much unknown. And he begins to really introspect, basically, and kind of says to himself, you know what? This is a whole new world for me here, and I'm not just going to let this happen anymore. There's a possibility that maybe I was kind of just going along with it this whole time, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And if I can fight back, I'm going to do that. And if it's the last thing I do, I'm not going to be a tool for evildoers ever again, even if it means I have to die. And that's kind of where that song ends.
Wandering the world, trying so hard to find you, to give me purpose in this life I lost.
Track 4 is Legacy. This one is interesting. It's different. We had a really good time writing this song. It's not your usual, verse, chorus kind of standard track. We decided to leave it as it was without adding unnecessary parts and riffs because it just felt like it flowed so well as it was. And it was a really great way for me to be able to tell the story of the grandson, who turns out is the Immortal's new master. It was hard to fit so much into one track because I kind of wanted to tell a little bit of his story, his backstory, and why he's here, why he has the immortal, why he's awakened him. And, it's really difficult to do that in a traditional sort of songwriting style. So this song actually, turned out really well for the lyric side of things, because I was able to just say basically one long story from beginning to end, and tell the whole, most of the grandson's point of view on things. So the whole song is sung in the grandson's voice. And what we learn is that he's the grandson of the matriarch. And he's the son of the man whom the immortal befriended in Apex in the song Earth and Ashes. So there's one part in the sort of second verse, I guess you'd call it, where he literally says to him, "Can't you see in my face, I'm his son, I'm his Earth and Ash." Because in that song on Apex, he had said to the immortal, "It's okay, I don't mind, I'm cool with going with you. I know that, I won't really die, that my Earth and Ashes will be left behind." And he was talking about his son, who the matriarch didn't know about. So the grandson is talking to the immortal about how he at first was very angry with him, and how he blamed the immortal for taking away his father, and how he kind of was living his life to seek revenge on him. And then through his travels, he discovers that the immortal is just a tool, and that the real villain of the story was his grandmother, the matriarch. So he sort of switches gears, searches for the matriarch, and finds a way to steal the immortal from her. The second verse, he says, "When I finally found the words, the ones I knew would wake you." Somehow, it wasn't quite exactly what he wanted it to be. Even though he knew that he had the matriarch right where he wanted her, he was going to steal the immortal and awaken him and use him against her. He didn't feel quite right. He didn't feel as fulfilled by it as he had hoped. So this is kind of the moment when he's realizing that he's not the one that's going to defeat the matriarch. The immortal is. And he's just going to be a vessel to get the immortal there, to the point where the immortal can feel, the confidence to do that. He's sort of going to become this father figure almost to the immortal character, because by this time, about 50 years has passed from when the immortal went to sleep to when he awakens on the ship out in space. So the grandson is quite old, and he just takes the immortal under his wing and says, I thought that I was going to be the one that was going to save the universe from this crazy evil, but it turns out, in fact, the answer is you, and you are going to do this, and you are going to be my legacy. And that's really what that song is all about. So I'll just leave it there for you guys, because it's a lot to take in, and I will cover the next 3 songs in the next track by track. Like I said, make sure you check out the album on Spotify, or grab a physical copy if you're cool with that. The whole thing is pretty involved, so I really recommend that you sit down and listen to the record beginning to end. No stops if you can. Put your headphones on and just chill out in your armchair or whatever and give it a listen through and through, because the story is pretty intense, and we definitely wrote it to be taken in one sitting. And I know that's kind of not the way that media is consumed these days, but that's how we wrote the record. So if you get a chance, but if not, you can check out our singles on YouTube as well. We've got a video for Abyss out, we've got a video for Soulbound, and we've got a video for Faster Than Light as well. So make sure to check those out, and I'll see you in the next one.